everyone, Gilligan Kruger 0829 here, and welcome to another movie review. Okay, I'm just gonna get this joke over with right now. Red Tails, woohoo! Today I'm going to review Red Tails, woohoo! That's right, we're talking about Red Tails, the new historical fiction drama about the Tuskegee Airmen from 1944 from Lucasfilm. Now, this is the first project since Railroad Murders in 1994 that Lucasfilm has actually released a film that has nothing to do with either the Star Wars or Indiana Jones franchises. In fact, Lucas himself has said he's been trying to get this project into the air for decades, as far back as the 1980s. And now, finally, at the beginning of 2012, he gets his chance, and Red Tails has been released. So the movie just came out on Friday and already hasn't been getting all that great criticism. The critic reviews are not all that positive. But myself, since I love history, especially anything regarding World War II, decided to check it out on opening night anyway. And I'm going to say right here, right now, I don't agree with the critics, but if you want a more in-depth, detailed reason for why I think this, I'll give you my review and tell you what's good and what's bad about Red Tails. Let's start with the plot synopsis. So, as I said before, the movie starts in 1944, where we see a group of American bombers is shot down by Germans because the American fighters that were supposed to accompany them got distracted by another brigade, and thus the bombers were practically defenseless, and the German airships just knocked them down. So we then cut to four of our main characters, four of the Tuskegee Airmen, the first all-black group of American flyers to be in the war. To be in any war, actually. And the characters are Martin Easy Julian, played by Nate Parker, Joe Lightning Little, played by David Oyelowo, correct me if I pronounce the name wrong, Samuel Joker George, played by Elijah Kelly, sorry, I'm blanking on the actors' names, and Raygun Gannon, played by Tristan Wilds. Now, as I said, they are part of the special group called the Tuskegee Airmen, who love to fly, but up until this point have only been getting assignments like patrolling and taking down German trains, and occasionally a German camp. So they are kind of bored and at times feel insignificant. However, their colonel, A.J. Bullard, played by Terrence Howard, talks to the Pentagon and convinces them to let the Red Tails actually fly into the battle zone, and thus they finally get their chance. As it progresses, though, they see that their different personalities are really endangering their missions at times. And the movie that follows kind of goes through the life, mainly of the four I mentioned, as they get through their battles in World War II. So, this movie I see is kind of like a combination between Glory, the movie about the 54th Massachusetts Regiment, and Pearl Harbor. This film actually seems to borrow elements from both of those war movies. In fact, even some of the actors, like we've got Cuba Gooding Jr. is in this movie, and I swear one of the Tuskegee Airmen looks exactly like Denzel Washington. On its own, though, I do think this movie stands pretty strong, and I enjoyed it. So let's start with the best thing about it, the premise and the story. I thought this premise was really good. Again, when I first saw the trailer and read the plot synopsis online, I immediately thought of Glory, one of my all-time favorite movies. I'm like, this is going to be great. This is a great idea, because I really liked the idea of the Tuskegee Airmen, the group that was disliked by most everyone else, but really proved how strong they were. And they really put emphasis on both of those. Like, there's one scene where Lightning is in a bar, and a white officer calls him the N-word, and that gets them into a fight. So, I guess kind of something you might have seen before, but again, really like the premise. And in fact, I think the story afterwards held up pretty well, too. It had a pretty interesting narrative. I was following it all the way. So, From beginning to end, I was interested in what was going to go on. Again, sometimes I did think it lagged at points. Like, there were a lot of camp scenes where I'm thinking, okay, hurry up, I want to see something cool. But again, nothing to really bring down the movie that badly. In fact, another thing, this movie looks incredible. The backgrounds are great. The scenery is great. The action sequences are great. Actually, especially the action sequences are fantastic. The dogfights, though they're few and far between, they are really good in this movie. I think they had a Star Wars-y feel, especially towards the end with the final airship escort, because they're really high octane. You're getting really interested in all the explosions, and you're thinking, okay, come on, he's gonna live. Oh, no. And again, I just really like these action sequences. Seeing them again, I thought they really made the movie, personally. But again, it's not just the action sequences that I think are good. The scenery is fantastic too. While I said some of the camp scenes dragged, I really liked the setup for this place. It had runways, tents, everything that you'd expect, and they really put a lot of detail into this. But I think the scenery that really stuck out to me was in the Italy scenes, because there's a subplot where Lightning is dating a woman named Sophia, played by Daniela Rush, and we get to see all around Italy, different parts, and that's just beautiful. Also, I give the movie credit. It didn't have to throw 3D at us to make it look good, so it's a beautiful looking film. At very least, I always get that from Lucasfilm products. And the characters, I would say, are actually pretty enjoyable too. You're following them all the way through, and I personally was invested in all of them. I was wondering what was going to happen to them. I was angry when some of them died. I was angry when some of them yelled and got into danger. There's another really interesting subplot when one of the soldiers gets captured about halfway through. I won't reveal who it is, but that leads to some really good things too. So we've got really good characters that I like. We have a good premise and a very good story to follow it, and the film looks beautiful. Those things alone can make a war movie, or they can break them. But here, they stand it up and put it together well. Now, there are only two real problems I do have with the movie. Unfortunately, though, they're big ones. Mainly in the characters. Now, again, I do think the characters were interesting. I just didn't really find any of them all that memorable. In fact, the only reason I could give you their names earlier was because I had to look it up on the internet. The only ones I remembered coming out of the theater were Lightning and Raygun, and that's mainly because they were involved with something happened to them in the story. So, in fact, even when I saw the movie, I was having trouble remembering what were their names, because it really got confusing. I sometimes had to wait for one of the characters to name the other, and that for me can be a problem. Now, another problem I have been hearing is that the dialogue was kind of bland, and to me, I'll be honest with you, unless dialogue is abysmal, it really doesn't bother me mostly, so that wasn't too much of a problem. The second main thing I had was it does revert to a lot of war movie cliches, like you've seen in other films before, and you kind of know they're coming. Like, towards the end, there's one character that they're showing several things to, and I'm just sitting in the theater looking up at the screen and thinking to myself, wow, you, my friend, are so dead. Because it just follows the war formula to where you know this character is going to die, and I called it right. And again, won't reveal who it was that bit the bullet here, but it's really not that unpredictable. I'm pretty sure you'll probably be able to figure out. So, again, they're small things, but they do stack up in the end. I would have liked the characters to be a little more memorable and the story to be a little less cliched. Overall, though, it's a mixed bag, but I did enjoy Red Tails. I was satisfied when I came out of that theater. I thought the fantastic look of the movie, the interesting characters, even though they were not really memorable sometimes, as I said, and the incredible premise and story were enough to keep me through it. Again, I know some people have said it has problems for the things I pointed out, but to me personally, they weren't enough to really bring down the movie. I did enjoy it. In fact, I would say if you like war movies, if you like plane movies, or if you like any of the movies I mentioned beforehand in this review, you'll probably like this. I did. So this and War Horse are two war movies in the last 2 months that have really got me interested and really kept me involved. So, Red Tails, however, I'm giving 3.5 stars out of 5. It was a good movie, and I did enjoy it. I'm looking forward to seeing it again when it comes out on DVD. You can find all my movie reviews on my YouTube channel. If you have a movie you'd like me to review, comment on this video or on my channel. Subscribe if you like my videos, and until next time, peace!